So, I thought this isn't so much a review as it is more like a, hey, you should check this out. Because I didn't know how to do this. Because I did do a review of this years ago on a live stream. And then I got the... And I found this at a comic book, so I got this because I love the comic so much. And the sequel, which I adored. We're going to talk about Giants. Or, here, that's better. Giants and Giants Ghosts of Winter, the sequel. So, what is Giants? Giants is a Dark Horse comic that came out a few years ago. That's basically, as you can see, a kaiju novel. I'm going to talk about why you should pick this up. Like, why should you, average comic reader, check out this indie book that has no existing IP, no nothing. Why? It's no superhero book. Why should I... it's my job now to convince you, the viewer, why you should read this book. So, why should you read Giants? I'll explain. Let's talk about the first book. The first book was the original graphic novel by the Vladorama brothers. Hope I'm saying that name right. The two of them created a world that can be best described as Godzilla meets Akira. That's the best way I can describe... Whenever someone asks me, should I read Giants, the best way I can describe it is Godzilla meets Akira. And that's a pretty good example, right? Essentially, in the first comic... let me set up the universe first. The universe is that the world is gone. The world has been overrun by giant monsters. They don't call them kaiju. They don't call them anything else. They just call them monsters. They just call them as they are, giant monsters. And Earth is now, the remnants of human beings who have been around for a couple more 100 years. They're living in underground caverns. And two friends in this first book, Gogi and Zito, and they all have weird names. All humanity has weird names. It's one of those kind of futures. So Gogi and Zito are a pair of thieves who are trying to collect special blood, called Amberline, from the monsters. And essentially, what happens is that Gogi at first is this big. Gogi is this I'm going to be head of this crew one day, and Zito's kind of meek. But eventually, they get separated during a monster attack, and they both go on different journeys of self-discovery, as well as Zito falls further into madness and darkness. The story itself is a great story about brothers and broken bonds and the real thing is friendship. That's the real thing. It goes the MLP route of friendship. I also love the world itself. The world building is simple and effective. It doesn't try to over-explain itself. It doesn't try to be the monsters were alien. It doesn't explain the apocalypse. It doesn't explain why the monsters are now here. They're here. That's the world we're living in. Yeah. I also really love the design of the monsters. They really have this kind of almost something like Guillermo del Toro would create, where they're not... They do look like... I will admit that the monsters, and I'll give you a better look... I will give you a better look of what the monsters look like when they're fighting and the scale of them. Yeah, there we go. So they do look very Muto-ish. They do look very Muto-ish, but apparently the Vladimir brothers, really wanted to encapsulate that they're more this more whale-like look. They're more a whale-elephant kind of design mixed with reptile, which I kind of like. I like that they do look... they have their own uniqueness. The monsters have their own unique designs, but they also have this familiarity to them, these giant whale elephant dragons. There's also smaller monsters too that prove to be just as dangerous as the bigger monsters. It's again, I know they look very the kaiju themselves look very Cloverfield-y in form, but they don't feel like they're ripoff of Cloverfield or the Mutos. They feel very real, and you really also get a feel of the scale of these monsters when you see them, as well as the weight when they're moving, especially when they're fighting. So that's the first book. The second book follows, again, with the found family that Gogi was a part of. But Gogi is, surprisingly, they don't go the route of Gogi being the main character again. He's more of the supporting character, and we follow the older sister, I guess you could say the young matriarch of the group. And she's traumatized by the loss of one of their friends from the first book. And eventually, what happens is they get found by a group of monster hunters, and it leads to a conflict between both of them. Because this group of kids who call themselves the Forsaken, they believe there's coexistence with the monsters, especially one in particular named Wraith, who is this huge, Arctic-colored, he's just this all-white monster. They call him the White Knight. Like the knight in shining armor, and he has this Godzilla MonsterVerse Godzilla type role where he keeps the balance in the territory. It's not like he's the alpha. He's not like the alpha kaiju. He's just like he controls this territory, and as long as we're in his territory and don't disrupt him, we're safe. That's the kind of coexistence they're looking at. And the monsters themselves aren't like malicious. The kaiju are more like animals than even like in the MonsterVerse, where you clearly see malicious intent in a lot of the Titans and other, and in Godzilla movies or other kaiju films, you see like malicious intent done with the kaiju. Here, in these two books, there's really nothing malicious about them. They just want to exist. They are the most animal-like of them. There's no like human-like traits. They're more like just big animals, and they just see us as like, oh, you're there, okay, I'm gonna move on with my life now. That's what I kind of like about it. There is a lot of human conflict, and the kaiju action, when you see it, is amazing. It is more of a story about finding one's family and living in this world with that family, whether it be found or not. Yeah, I got the first book years ago and really enjoyed it. And then, when I was at a comic shop, a few weeks ago, and I found this. I didn't know they came out with a sequel. I didn't know they came out with the sequel. So yeah. Do I recommend the Giants duology, I guess you could say. I don't know if they've announced, if the Vladimir brothers have announced they are going to do a second book. A third book, excuse me. I don't know if they're going to make it a trilogy so far. I've heard nothing, but you never know. But yes, I do recommend getting Giants and Giants Ghosts of Winter. I really love these books. They have great kaiju action. There's great characters to them. Like I said, it's Godzilla meets Akira. That's the best way I can describe it. If you love Godzilla and Akira, go freaking read this book. So there you go, guys. That's my recommendation for Giants. Not so much a review, but more like a, hey, do you like giant monsters? Here you go. I got some lesser-known comics for you. But there you go, guys. If you have read Giants, let me know in the comments below what you guys think of it. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.